Hey there, what's up? This is Paul. So in this video, I'm going to show you my favorite webinar platform, which is WebinarJam. I actually am doing 2 live calls every single week with WebinarJam. I love the way that you can choose the design of the chat room. You can have the chat role appearing on the right hand side, and it just doesn't break. So back in the day when they had WebinarJam 3.0, this is WebinarJam 4.0, when they actually had WebinarJam 3.0, it was always busting. There was a lot of complaints. There was a lot of things that they hadn't included, and they have now included some insane features. And in all honesty, I've used GoToWebinar. I've used some of the leading brands that cost like 10 times the amount of WebinarJam, and I've not been too impressed. In fact, a lot of the partners that I work with will only insist on GoToWebinar, but GoToWebinar, one is it's really expensive, but I have it anyway. But the fact is that it did actually break recently. I did a webinar with Blake Newbar, and we hopped on and he couldn't share his screen. Apple had updated the iOS Apple system and the operating system, and he basically and GoToWebinar hadn't been on the case. They hadn't basically sorted this out. So this cost money, and it basically it meant that the whole live experience for all the people that had signed up for that webinar, basically we had to then go and change to another platform. And it wasn't a good experience for everybody, and it cost money, right? It cost us money because it was actually for a promotion. So I do not recommend, obviously, whatever you do, using GoToWebinar, because one, I've been testing them all out, and I've been using GoToWebinar, and sometimes I have to for partners I work with that insist on it. But I think it's because people have been so like WebinarJam back in the day wasn't up to scratch. When it came out, it was really good, but then there was a lot better solutions. And nowadays, people don't realise how good WebinarJam is. And like I say, I use it twice a week. So just to show you here, look, this is my some of my weekly calls. Look, as you can see, I can get my replays. You can see like these are all the sessions from this one, and I actually hop on live calls, twice a week with my team. And I've got these go back to. Actually, don't know how many was in here. Like, you've got a few on that one. Sometimes I change the rooms and things. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing this now. I've been using WebinarJam most extensively for the last 12 months. It is definitely one of my favourite easily my favourite webinar platform. I wouldn't be without it. It runs my entire business. Okay, so I just want to, first of all, before I get into giving you the tutorial and the demo, I want to actually show you how it works on your landing pages, right? So what's going to happen when people sign up. Now, there's 2 ways for people to sign up. You can embed a button, which is my favorite way, or you can have a thing called a banner down the bottom here, okay? And they give you both options. So I'll show you how to configure those. And they've even got a button configurer now inside of WebinarJam. So I created these buttons in WebinarJam. I didn't have to get a developer or work out anything. I actually created these buttons to go with my page inside of WebinarJam. So what actually happens is they'll press this, and then what will happen is that this thing will pop up, and then they can select the date, time, and then they can register. Now I'm actually going to do one, so we're going to select that one, and then we're going to register now, and you'll see that they come to a thank you page. Okay, so I've got this set up. You can basically set up any different thank you page you want. They've got a bunch of templates. Or now, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like WebinarJam back in the day, is that you couldn't have your own thank you page. You had to use one of theirs. I'm happy to use one of theirs, but obviously because it has the link to the actual live webinar. But if you want to use your own landing page, you can do it that way and configure it how you want, right? They will actually allow you to do that now. And then obviously you have the link to the live webinar, and this goes to a countdown page. And then you can see that this webinar is going to be starting in 7 minutes. Okay, so I've actually got this one configured in EverWebinar, which basically creates exactly the same WebinarJam experience. So everything's the same, except for it's a pre-recorded webinar. Okay, so but I'm obviously going to cover that in other videos. So if you are looking to do evergreen or just-in-time webinars, obviously make sure you go and check those out. But so that's what I wanted to show you. So we'll let that run for 7 minutes, and we'll come back, and I'm going to talk you through the tutorial of how you set this up and how easy it is. I mean, you can literally set up a webinar in a few seconds if you want to go live right now, or you can go through the full configuration. So I won't show you the quick option because it's not going to show us very much, but I'm going to just show you here that you can do literally less than 60 seconds, which basically is just going to create a room straight away. We give it a title and we're good to go. Okay, so if you've basically got an idea with your team or your audience and you say, hey, who wants to hop on a call right now? Obviously you would choose this option, and then it will just create you a link, and then they can sign up, okay, and join it straight away. But that's the one I'm not going to talk through that because it's really straightforward. It literally just asks you for a couple of bits of information, then you're good to go. So I'm going to talk you through this one here so that you can actually see under the hood properly and see what's everything's in there, right? So you can obviously schedule one for right now. So if you wanted to set one up for right now, like obviously you're going live right now, but you wanted to configure it all properly so it works out a replay and all that sort of stuff, then you choose this option. Obviously, if you're scheduling it for later, then obviously if it's going to be, say for instance, you're doing a live presentation this Thursday at 7 p.m, obviously you choose this one, and this one's always on, and this is the one that I use sometimes for my recurring weekly calls. So they can sign up for it once, and then we can set a schedule every week so that they get reminders every week for the same live training. And this is the one I use most of the time because obviously I have 2 weekly calls. So I use this one because if they, I actually made a mistake of getting them to sign up for this one, but then when they go to turn up a week later, it says the webinar has ended, right? So we don't want that. So this is one for recurring, this is one for one time, and this is one if you just want to go right now, okay? So we're going to do schedule for later because this goes through all the kind of whole setup for everything, right? So we give the webinar a name. So I'll just pause this. We've got a few things filled out here. You can obviously add a thumbnail. So if people share your webinar, that it will come up in the like Facebook and things like that. So I haven't done that for this one, but I've just filled this out. So this is kind of similar to the title of my actual webinar. So it's how to rank 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Google overnight. I've spelled night wrong. Let's just get that right. And then the webinar description: free Google ads without spending a penny on marketing. And this will obviously get people's attention. And then you can list it in the on-demand section. I've never done this, but they do have obviously a bank of webinars that people can go and sign up for. So you could list it for that if you had an evergreen webinar or something that you want people to go and register for. But obviously if you're just running it to your own list, then you can keep that private. So you go through that, and then you put your presenter in here. You can actually change this so that you put an image, like an image of your face. And obviously you can add in extra ones and decide whether they're presenters or moderators. Sometimes moderators want to sign in. So you can add those all in here. So obviously I'll just keep that as is. I would normally add an image in, but for speed, we're just going to leave that. Okay, so I don't recommend using YouTube Live. Webinar Live is fantastic. It's really good. But obviously, if you're somebody who uses YouTube a lot, like I do, then you can configure that. But to be honest, when I do live broadcasts on YouTube, I generally use OBS, okay, because it's free, open source, and it configures well with it. So use WebinarJam Live, you won't be disappointed. You know, as long as you've got an okay internet connection, which most people have these days, then you'll be fine. Okay, so use that one. Okay, so that's what I recommend. And then that's gonna kind of set us up with the basics, and then we're gonna decide whether it's one single session, multiple sessions, recurring sessions. So for this one, we'll just choose one single session. So we'll say it's going to be at 7 p.m. and we choose our time zone. So I live in the UK, so I'll choose London. So this is going to be on the 20th of January in London. So we're going to go confirm. Okay, and then the registration page. Okay, so what we can do is we can obviously forward them to our own registration page. Now you'll see here that page that I showed you, I don't want to change from this, but that was actually created in in ClickFunnels. So I used my own webinar page, but you can actually use one of their amazing templates. So they've got quite a few good ones here. So you could choose one. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to choose something straightforward. I'm going to use this one because obviously I'm not going to be creating a video and showing you that. So this is going to be our page. So we can obviously, you can see here, free webinar, how to rank 1, 2, 3 overnight. We could add some text in here, and you can see this is not actually the date. This is just an example. So it's not editable. And then we can obviously save and exit when we're happy. So I'll assume that I've done this bit, do save and exit. So you can see, and that's confirmed. Okay, but obviously if you want to do your own page, you would just drop the URL in here, and then you can send people via your WebinarJam link and it will go to your own landing page. And by doing it that way, it's going to give you all the analytics inside of here. So you know exactly how many people have signed up, how many people have opted in, and it gives you all that funky data. So you get CRM with it as well, right? So you can do it that way, and you can send them not straight to your landing page, but via the WebinarJam link that they give you to your landing page. And you can even customize that link as well. So you can make it look pretty, you know, make it look better. So, you know, this is the one I use. But for this purpose, obviously, we'll use this one. But you can see they've got some really cool pages, really good ones, so you can use that. Okay, and we've done... Oh, hang on. This was the registration form. So the one I like to use is this one, or actually this one, because you can just about make this out. But this one here is got, and I like to use the red. This one here has got the image at the top, and then it's got the arrows pointing on where they sign up. And this helps increase conversions. On the old WebinarJam form, they had something similar and it worked really well. So this is the one I like, but obviously you can choose whatever form pops up. So when they press the button on either your website or their website, this is what's going to pop up. So they've created all these different funky forms, and you can choose the different colors as well. So I like this red one because it fits with my brand. For my affiliate tubes, it says Academy. It's a kind of similar color. So I like to do that, okay? And then you can actually view it here. Look, there you go. So you can see. I'll show you a couple of these, actually. So that one looks pretty good as well. So that one is pretty good. I mean, I've split tested a few of these, actually. And this one worked well as well, without an image at the top. And this one worked really well. In fact, with the presentation with Might Feel Same, it was really great, but the problem is that it had Might Feel Same's image here, but it was saying that the emails were coming from Might Feel Same, but they're actually coming from me. And Mike actually contacted me and he said, I don't think I'm sending out these emails. I was like, oh, no, it's me. I said, because I've made you presenter, because we presented it together, it's sending out the emails from you. So I had to change it to me. So it was kind of coming from me. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, this one works really well. This one works really well. And then obviously registration form fields, you can decide what you want. You can add in a last name, you can add in a phone number, okay? And you can make them voluntary or mandatory by clicking these buttons, okay? And you can auto subscribe to future webinars. So this is a really good feature. So what this means is that they can, once they sign up, it means that they're going to be signed up for all of your future webinars. So it means that we can actually mail people that have all signed up for our webinars and they don't have to re-sign up. So I usually don't do that. I usually have it per webinar, but that's a really cool feature. Okay, it saves you having to kind of get sign-ups. Okay, so password protection, you can obviously have it password protected. And I think you can even charge. Yeah, you can charge for this as well. So you can charge a fee, okay, and they will actually... you would actually have to give them your checkout page. So you would have to create that inside of your whatever service you're using, like ClickFunnels, Kartra, or Groove. You know, you basically put your checkout, put your fee in there, and it will forward them to the checkout. And then obviously when that checkout's forwarded, you give them this URL to be forwarded back to WebinarJam. So they've made it really, really hassle-free. It's pretty good. But again, I always most of my webinars are free to register, but it just depends what you're doing, right? If you're doing an online training class or something like that, then you probably charge them for it, okay? And obviously password protected. They do have to log in with a password anyway, but I don't have it password protected. If it's a free access and they've logged in, they can just access it, right? Okay, so email gateway, I just use WebinarJam. WebinarJam is the same company as Kartra, and Kartra have the best email delivery provider that I know of. They have super high delivery rates, and WebinarJam used to have poor delivery rates on the old platform. Now they've moved it over to the same email provider they use with Kartra. Their WebinarJam mail is fantastic, so use theirs. It works really well, and it'll probably be better than yours, right? And then you've got reminder notifications. So this is really cool. So I'll just show you this one. So this is when they immediately sign up, you can send them an email. Now you can configure these. So you can put in anything you want, right? So I quite often put in a load of like what's going on in the webinar. You know, I'll tell them like all the points we're going to cover. Okay, so this works really well. And then you can actually have another email. Okay, so there's one 15 minutes before, but I like one 24 hours before, and I like one 2 hours before. Okay, you don't really need to do much else, and I need one 1 hour before. Okay, because the thing is that people have busy lives, so when they're out and about, we want to send them a confirmation immediately, so they've got the link. Okay, we want to let them know 24 hours before, so if it could be a week's time, right? So we want to let them know at least a day before. You know, sometimes I will even do it if it's a lot further in the future. I will do this as well, because people don't mind being reminded of things. So I often do that as well. If it's a lot further in the future, I will do immediately 48 hours before, 24 hours before, 1 hour, 2 hours, and 15 minutes before, right? And then after the webinar, okay, if you switch on this replay, you'll be able to send them to the replay. Okay, so what you can do is you can do the replay. You know, you could set it to literally 3 hours after the webinar starts. I mean, the fact is that this will only go out when the replay has configured. So once the webinar finishes, so if your webinar is likely to be 2 hours, okay, the webinar is going to take, for it to kind of render, you want to leave another hour. Okay, it will be a lot quicker, but you want at least an hour buffer, because if this sends out and it sends them to a replay and it's not configured, then you'll get complaints. So generally speaking, I usually wait a couple of hours after. So if this webinar is 2 hours, then I would put in 4 hours, because it says here after the webinar starts. So I'd put in 4 hours, okay? But again, sometimes you want people to not get the replay till the following day. On some of the webinars we do for our promotions, we want people to go and take action. We want to give them a chance to do that before we send the replay. So depending on what you're doing, so obviously you can send it 4 hours after, and then you might want one 24 hours after, then you might want one 48 hours. So say you're going to send it for 3 days, okay, you could do that, and then maybe one for 72 hours after. Okay, so this is really cool. And obviously, again, you can reconfigure all of these. You can change the email subject. You know, you can put all funky stuff in here. So you don't need an autoresponder at all. You can literally, if you've got WebinarJam is going to cover you for all of your pre and post emails. Okay, and you can configure these. You can put images in. You can do them all, you know, how you want them to do. And this will basically be sending out all the emails, reminding people of your offers, all on autopilot without you having to do anything once you've got this set up. This is one of the main reasons I love this. So we've got 10 emails all set up now, and they're going to go out. We don't need to configure anything, right? It's all done inside of here. Pretty cool. So if you do have your own email autoresponder, so I have Kartra, then you can obviously connect. Now, if it's not one of these, then you can connect it via a second-party service called, or a third-party service called Zapier. So Zapier connects 2 bits of software together. So there's a free option and there's a paid option. So you can use that usually for anything else that's not covered here. Okay, but again, like I said, you don't. In most cases, you don't need to. What I do with Kartra is I connect it to Kartra. I add a tag in, and then if they haven't gone and purchased the product or done what is required of that webinar, I can then obviously follow up with them in Kartra later on, and I can obviously add them to my list and all sorts of funky stuff. So I have obviously an email list inside of Kartra. So I generally always connect it to Kartra, and I generally always have some other things going on later on. But again, you don't need to do that. But if you've got your own autoresponder, obviously you can connect it seamlessly. Really cool. Okay, and you can put in your third-party tracking system. So this is what you would use for your Google Analytics, your Facebook tag, your Google tags, things like that. So because when people sign up for the webinar, they're going to be going to this webinar. They're going to go first of all to the webinar thank you page, which is dynamically created. Okay, so you want to put your pixels in here. Okay, so I put it in here, the thank you page. And that means that if I want to track for a lead, say for instance on Facebook, I put that in here and then it tracks the lead. Okay, so you put your Facebook pixels in whatever pages you want here, and even though they're dynamically created, you can put all of your tracking in this area here, and it's going to track it correctly. So it works really well. Okay, so I use this, it's fab. Okay, I'm obviously not going to do that right now. And then we have the default thank you page. Now, before in WebinarJam free, you couldn't use your own thank you page. Now you can, right? So you can basically choose wherever you want them to go. So once they've signed up, you can send them to your own webinar. Now, what you could do here is some people like to have their webinar played on just like on a page. So it's just a streaming video. Sometimes you don't want to use WebinarJam. I don't know why you wouldn't, but some people do. They want to have it go into their own page. So you could, in effect, if you wanted to, you could have them sign up for a webinar and then go straight to a page where you're streaming the webinar how you want. I wouldn't know why you would want to do that, but I know that some people have been telling me that they're using it for that. Obviously, you can have your own, whatever you want, basically. Once they register on that first page, when the thing pops up, they put in their details, this is where they're going to land, right? This is the thank you page, okay? And then the thank you page design, if you use any of theirs, you've obviously got this one. So this is the one I used before, but for simplicity, I'm going to use this one. Okay, I'm just going to show you it. Simply because this one is going to be so that I can show you this webinar working, okay? So we're just going to go save and exit. So this is the one I use for my weekly calls because they don't need a video with me and stuff like that. This is my team, this is my audience, this is my tribe. People come along and they know that they're going to see me, so they don't need anything more than this, right? So I usually just give them that. But you can see some of these are really cool. I'll show you some of these. And you can customize all these, put your videos in. This is very similar to the one they used to have on the old WebinarJam. This is the one I'm using at the moment for my funnel. So you can actually see. So that's the thank you page, and then you've got the webinar recording. So if you're sending out replays, you want to press yes to record the session. And to be honest, I would always record it anyway, even if you're not sending out replays, because you want to get a recording of your event. It's going to create an MP4 file and then you'll be able to download it. So I would recommend doing that regardless. Okay, and then you can actually, when you actually toggle that to yes, it opens up these other ones. Look, if you see they're not available. Once you toggle this to yes, this opens up all these others, and then you can actually decide where you want to send them. So it may well be that you want to send them to a custom video that you've done before. So for instance, you might not want to send them to that replay. You might want to send them to one that worked really well before. It's a very similar presentation, okay? Or you can send them to a replay page. So you can actually send them to an actual webinar replay page, right? So you can redirect them to an external replay page. So you can do that as well. And you can obviously make it expire. So if you're sending them these notifications and you're saying it's going to expire in 3 days, and obviously you can set that up here to expire in 3 days. And then when they land on it after 3 days, it will just say the webinar's finished. So obviously you can configure that how you want. And then on the actual replay, if you have the replay inside WebinarJam, so you basically send them to the replay inside like a live experience, you can activate the question box so that they can ask questions during the replay, or you can have nothing, so that they don't. If you activate the question box, you just need to drop in an email of where all the questions are going to be sent. So, that's all you need to do with that. And that's it. Then you're good to go. So this is now created. So, obviously that took a little bit longer, but you could create that in probably 2 or 3 minutes, right? So I'm just going to get the link here and I'm going to show you this webinar. Now, the other thing as well you can do here, I'll show you this area here before I show you the webinar. So this is like when you come in to log into your webinar, which I'm going to show you in a minute, you'll go to this section here that's links and you'll go over to presenters, right? And then there's a control panel here for your moderators. I actually don't go in there very much. I generally just go straight to this one here. But basically, this is the registration page link you send to your registrants, even if you're using your own page, and then you will have it all tracked inside a WebinarJam. Now, you don't have to. Obviously, if you want to send them to your own page, if you're running like a Facebook ad or something like that, you might want to use your own URL, right? Then it won't work if you use this one that's forwarded to it, because Facebook wants to know the exact URL that you're actually sending them to. So in that case, obviously Facebook will be tracking it for you anyway, or your other CRM will be tracking it. Then you just send them to that page. It's still going to work. But obviously, in most cases, you can send them to this and it's going to forward it to whatever page. So whether you've created one in WebinarJam or your own page, this is the link you would use in most cases. And you can customize this as well. So you can actually put here, Paul, I bet I've done this before. Paul Murphy 123. I'm just going to do that because I've probably not used that one. So there you go. So you can actually see now we've got a custom pretty link. So it's not got loads of gobbledygook on it. And that is the link. And if people come to this link, I'm just going to show you that in the bar. There we go. So people can sign up. And the way WebinarJam do all their pages is they have this thing at the bottom, because it means if people scroll or anything, then they can sign up. So people can register. So you can see here that this will then pop up my registration form, the way we configured it. Obviously, I didn't put my photo in here, but my photo would be here. Okay, and you can see that this is on Wednesday, the 20th of January. And then we did actually put in last name. I don't know why I did that, but there we go. And phone number. There we go. Okay, so that should work, hopefully. There we go, and this is our thank you page, right? So this is going to be where we land, and when we want to go live, you'll see that this is starting in 7 days. So they'll be put on this holding page, which again we all configured as we went through there. So that is all configured, but obviously we would do that. You know, you've got all the different pages that you can use. You can really kind of go to town and configure it how you want. So that is the actual live webinar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. This is the actual webinar room. Now you can have this, you can actually configure this. Let me just go back in here. I didn't see where we did this. Let's go back into this. But you can actually configure the room and what it looks like. So let's go here. Oh, here we go, webinar. I missed a section. So it's a good job I came back in here. So this is the thank you page, right? So this is live. Okay, so you can actually, this is the countdown page design. Okay, so obviously you can choose those. So again, the thank you page is where they will land after they've registered. So you can either send them to your own page or you can have them land on here. But this is the countdown page. So this is the page that you want to link people to when they've actually, so if you're sending them to your own page or one of their pages, this is the page that they're going to sit on until the event goes live. Okay, and again, you've got all these different options. This time you can't configure your own because it's not going to know where to send them to. So you do have to use their countdown page, but they've got quite a few good templates you can use. So yeah, so that's that. And then the webinar room design, you can actually have, I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to choose this. You can actually see these colors here are the colors that are available. And actually this one's quite good. I'm going to choose that one actually, because I quite like that. Now, if you want to run polls and quizzes, so during your presentation, if you want things to come up, so like, you know, for instance, you might be in the middle of your presentation, you might ask them a question. Do you do this or do you do that? And then you can actually have the poll pre-configured and you can just press a button, or you can have your moderator press a button. You can do it or your moderator can do it. And then that question will pop up. So you don't have to type it all out and create it. So you can configure these and have these pop up when you want. Okay, so you can have here, look, this is your question, these are your options. Okay, and then you can set that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, really cool thing. And you can have your offer. So obviously if you're selling something on here, you can configure this. So what I have with mine is I put an image of my academy, I put the name, and I put all the details in here. And then, you know, I can actually have sales broadcast in real time. So, and you can add scarcity by adding how many units are available. You can add urgency by adding a timer. And then again, when you basically press for this pop-up to come up, all of this stuff that's pre-configured will come, and then they just press the button and go straight to your offer. So I love that because that's really cool. Okay, then you've got video interjections. So you basically, if you had a video that you wanted to play in your presentation, you can do that, right? So you can add your video here and play it in your presentation. Okay, and then you've got file handouts. So if you've got PDFs or anything you want to hand out, okay, and if you want to upload your slides to WebinarJam, you can actually do that, and then you can actually have them run inside WebinarJam. So it will take Keynote and PowerPoint, and I think that's it. It might take Google Slides, but it definitely takes Keynote and PowerPoint as well. So yeah, that was the one I didn't show you, and then I showed you all of that. Yeah. So yeah, we missed a section. I don't know how we did that. So there we go. So that's my full WebinarJam tutorial demo for 2021. Next thing I want to show you is the pricing. So you can get, basically you can get this for just $497 a year. Now I want to compare this to the product that I actually think is inferior, which is GoToWebinar. I actually worked this out, right? If we put this on the annual, this is in UK pounds, which is about 75 cents. 75 pence cost me $1 US dollar, right, in the UK. So I've worked out for this starter plan, this is $1,104. It's actually $828 pounds. So if you convert that to dollars, that's 1,104, right? This one here, which is, and that's only for 100 participants. 100, that's it, right? Quite often you overfill that. So you're going to be paying over $1,000 a year for 100, or for here you can have 500 for just $500 a year, right? So this second one is $2,544 a year. Okay, it's actually 1,908. That's $2,500 a year for the same thing for $500 a year. And again, like I say, WebinarJam is better. It's better. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, and then on this one costs you $5,104 per year. Okay, and this is if you pay annually, right? If you pay monthly, it's going to be more. I've actually done it on the cheapest option that you can do it, because this is billed annually. So that's actually 3,828 if you times that by 12, which is 5,104 annually. Like, this is ridiculous pricing. You know, I don't know how they can sleep at night with those sort of pricing, because this software is inferior in a lot of ways, and it doesn't have half the features. So this is what you're going to pay. So, you know, you can basically come in and you can do, if you're going to have up to 500 attendees, it's just $500 a year. If you're going to have up to 2,000, it's just $700. And if you have 5,000 attendees, which you can't even get on this one, you have to kind of reach out to them, right? It's going to cost you, every plan is under $1,000 a year, and you can upgrade as well. So if you kind of like, as your needs grow, you can upgrade. So I'm going to put a link to this page, and you can actually go and choose which plan's right for you. And also, if you go to exit this page, you'll see that they will give you a 14-day trial for $1. But the fact is that they will give you a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So my recommendation is obviously just go and get the 30-day guarantee rather than 14 days, because you get to try it for 30 days. And this is going to basically, you can just ask for a refund in that time. Okay. So, you know, you just basically literally just cancel and you get your refund. So this is really cool, and I recommend WebinarJam. And obviously, if you run a really good live webinar and you ever want to tap on EverWebinar, then obviously go and check out EverWebinar as well. So that's my review today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and leave a comment, and actually subscribe to the channel. I've got loads more training coming out on how to run webinars and some exciting things that I'm going to be connecting webinars with that will kind of be useful. And also I've got loads of other tips on how to make money online, how to put your products and services on the front page of Google. And also I'm going to be giving the 24-hour ranking system with anyone who purchases the premium service of this. So yeah, just reach out at support@tripfunnels.com and I'll give you my 24-hour Google ranking system that will show you how to go and promote your webinar on the front page of Google to an abundance of buyers. You get that for free. That's usually $9.97. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next video.